Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now May 8th of 2021, and ever since the very end of The Mandalorian Season 2's finale, a lot of fans around the world have been very much intrigued about what's to come by both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni for this new Star Wars universe. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing that we do know about when it comes to Disney's Star Wars is that George, Jon, and Dave are all working together as a team to really create this new, authentic Star Wars universe that's going to borrow many aspects from Star Wars Legends and incorporating that into the Mandalorian series and other new TV shows out there that's really going to propel Star Wars in a brand new direction. Basically, their goal is to make it just as acceptable as the Marvel Cinematic Universe and where it stands right now. So obviously, when we go ahead and examine what Jon and Dave have planned for the future of Star Wars, they really do have a lot on their plate. They got The Mandalorian, they've got the reformed version of Rangers of the New Republic, they've got the Ahsoka Tano series, which, by the way, is going to deal with a lot of different things like the Netherworld, the Worlds Between Worlds, and even the Realm of Mortis. So that's another thing to look forward to as well. So when it all dwindles down to LUCASFILM's Kathleen Kennedy of all people, right? We do know that her TV series is something that a lot of fans are up in arms over, and that is the Acolyte TV show. The main reason is because it not only takes place within the High Republic era, but it's also going to be a show that's going to take itself away from the philosophy of George Lucas. Even Kathleen Kennedy talked about this, that she does not want anything to do with the George Lucas philosophy being implemented into the Acolyte series. And that brings us over to Kathleen Kennedy and what's been really going on behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm, and exactly what she also had to say recently about the Acolyte TV show, which, by the way, they're still aiming for a 2022 release. Now, given that Disney and Lucasfilm are primarily focused on their new Star Wars universe with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, while Kathleen Kennedy works on her Acolyte series with Headland, it's best described that Disney has many plans for the future of Star Wars moving ahead. However, it's described that behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy has been having a very frustrating time with the Acolyte TV series, and is described to be very offended over the fact that so many fans are already not accepting her new TV show for Disney+. Kathleen Kennedy is said to be very angry with the fandom for not wanting to watch the Acolyte series, and for those that canceled their Disney Plus accounts due to her firing actress Gina Carano. Now, in a recent interview, also it's described that Kathleen Kennedy stated that once again that there is no source material to pull from Star Wars Legends when it comes to the Acolyte TV series, and that the main goal for this show is to focus on new fans and detach from the older philosophy of the franchise. Kathleen Kennedy goes on to state that in her belief, the fans who created the backlash of The Last Jedi were the ones responsible for making the fandom very toxic in nature and ruining it for so many people, and that the fans actually can sometimes expect the impossible when it came to the sequel trilogy movies, that we just had to ignore them in the long run. Further, it's described that behind the scenes, Kennedy holds a grudge against those that dislike the sequel trilogy, since it led her to losing her creative power shortly after the release of Episode 9, given that, of course, the box office results were not near The Last Jedi's results, giving, of course, Disney proof that Kennedy was not doing well interrupting on a creative level. So let's dive deeper into this. Now, we also know that the Acolyte TV series is going to be driven by identity politics, and it's also going to be driven by a lot of other aspects by Kathleen Kennedy, such as real-world issues being implemented into this TV show. Now, let's go ahead and focus on Kathleen Kennedy's stance on the Star Wars fandom, essentially blaming them for really creating a toxic environment, for creating a very big impact on the Star Wars community in a negative sense. She's blaming the fandom that really spoke their opinion, gave out their opinion about The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, and that those are the ones responsible, according to her, for making Star Wars as a community a big mess. Now, like any movie, there's always going to be criticism. But when it came to the sequel trilogy, this was a different level of criticism, and rightfully so in my book. When we examine what Rian Johnson had done with The Last Jedi, and I know we've said this on and on, but what Rian Johnson had done to Luke Skywalker was not acceptable. It just wasn't, I'm sorry. When we look at what Jon Favreau did with The Mandalorian Season 2, it's just proof of how easy it can be done to please the fans. It's really just pure common sense. It's what they should have done from the very beginning, and in my opinion, Rian Johnson was just being either A, too lazy, or B, just trying to be so original to the point where he could actually just stand out just because. And that's what he tried to do most likely with The Last Jedi, by making Luke Skywalker, you know, such a downer and such a depressed individual, which, by the way, it works in the short term, but not for the entirety of the movie. I would have loved it if, let's say, for example, in The Last Jedi, Luke was a depressed person, very low and let down, maybe for the first act, then he turns right around, leaves Ahch-To with Rey, takes on Snoke, and does his thing. That's how The Last Jedi should have been, easily. Fans just want pure fun. They don't really want that dark, depressing feeling with their fan-favorite characters. Now, when we go ahead and examine also what Kathleen Kennedy had to say about the Acolyte TV series and how this show is not going to be using any kind of Star Wars Legends. In fact, she also once again denied that Star Wars Legends exists in its own way, that there's nothing to really pull from Star Wars Legends, and how that cannot be put into the Acolyte TV series. A very, you know, odd by Kathleen Kennedy, in my opinion here, because she also said this a couple of months ago, almost a year at this point, where she said that there is no source material that exists to pull from and use it for future Star Wars movies and or TV shows, which, by the way, is just her subtle way of trying to convince new fans that the old material does not exist and you should not go ahead and look at it. That's basically what it translates to, is that she wants to not allow Legends to pretty much blossom in this new expanded universe moving ahead. So, when it comes down to, of course, George, John, and Dave, that is their overall mission. That is their overall plan, is to bring back a lot of Star Wars Legends material to really make the fans very happy, and to also allow, you know, other fans to kind of give their input into how Star Wars is going to run. We saw that Rosario Dawson was basically a fan cast. It really was. Now, this is something that fans have asked for a number of years, and Jon Favreau delivered. He actually let the fans choose Rosario Dawson to become Ahsoka Tano in The Mandalorian Season 2, and of course for her own TV series on Disney+. So, we gotta really give it to Jon Favreau for listening to the fans and allowing the fans to actually have a say in the matter to some extent. To some extent, right? And that's what I love so much about Jon Favreau, is that this is a guy that listens, this is a guy that really cares about the Star Wars fandom, and we're gonna see more and more of this later down the road. So, like I've said before in the past about Kathleen Kennedy, the Acolyte TV series, I don't believe it's gonna perform well, regardless of when or how it's going to be made. We'll have to wait and see exactly what it looks like in live action. So yeah, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to morning.